On that tranquil Thursday evening, an unusual stillness enveloped the world, creating an atmosphere that seemed almost too serene. In the quiet of the house, a gentle hum filled the air, the dishwasher in the kitchen working diligently, its presence the sole interruption in the stillness. As I settled onto the couch, I found myself folding laundry, a simple task to keep my hands busy while I awaited my husband's return from work. Liam, my son, had just returned home from his part-time job. He had embarked on a new journey, taking on evening shifts to gather the funds needed for his forthcoming college semester. At 22, he had blossomed into a self-assured young man, echoing his father's traits in numerous aspects, yet diverging in others. His presence infused the house with a vibrant energy, and today was no exception. "Hello, Mom. How are you doing?" As he entered the living room, he inquired, casually tossing his keys onto the coffee table. A smile spread across my face. "Indeed, I'm just wrapping things up at this moment. Are you feeling hungry?" I was contemplating the idea of beginning dinner shortly. He gave a slight shrug. "I suppose I could indulge in a meal. Will Dad be home shortly?" I stood motionless, my hands pausing above the pile of laundry. "Yeah, he'll be home in about an hour," I replied, perhaps a bit too hastily. There was something in my response that seemed to pique Liam's interest. He gazed at me, a subtle crease forming on his brow, as though he were attempting to decipher my thoughts. I averted my gaze, feigning interest in the garments before me. "Is everything all right?" he inquired, his demeanor relaxed, yet a hint of worry lingered beneath the surface. I summoned a smile. "Absolutely, darling, why would it be any different?" Yet, as the words left my lips, I sensed the heavy presence of unvoiced thoughts lingering in the space that separated us. There existed an inexplicable feeling, one I was reluctant to confront. Liam settled onto the edge of the couch, drawing nearer than I had anticipated. His presence offered a sense of solace, yet it carried an undercurrent of unease. A palpable tension lingered in the air, a subtle pressure intensifying with each fleeting moment. As we lingered in that moment, I couldn't help but reflect on Liam's remarkable growth and the swift passage of time. It felt as if time had flown by, with him once a young boy, darting through the rooms, brimming with curiosity and vitality. Yet here he stood as a man, exuding confidence and self-assurance, growing ever more distant from the boy I once nurtured. "Are you really all right, Mom?" he inquired once more, his tone gentler now, laced with worry. As I raised my gaze, our eyes locked in a moment of connection. In his gaze, I saw a reflection of the swift passage of time and the remarkable growth he had undergone. It evoked an unusual blend of wistfulness and apprehension within me. Uncertainty enveloped me, and it filled me with fear. I dismissed it, rising suddenly, attempting to rid myself of the peculiar sensation that had enveloped me. As I turned to begin dinner, I felt the weight of his gaze still resting on me, an unspoken connection hanging in the air. A lingering sensation enveloped me, an unspoken shift that hung in the air between us, unnoticed yet palpable. In the kitchen, I immersed myself in the act of cooking, yearning for the comfort of routine to soothe my restless mind. With each tick of the clock, I found myself stealing glances, eagerly anticipating the moment my husband would finally step inside. It felt peculiar, yet I found myself hoping he would refrain from doing so. A lingering desire stirred within me, urging me to savor this tranquil moment with Liam for just a bit more time. He drifted into the kitchen moments later, propping himself against the counter while I stirred the sauce simmering on the stove. His gaze was upon me, yet it felt different from the ordinary. His gaze held a captivating intensity that sent my heart racing. "Do you require assistance?" he inquired, his tone soft, carrying a hint of hesitation. I swiftly shook my head. "No, I appreciate it, but I've got it covered. Thanks anyway." Yet, as the words left my lips, I sensed the tension rising once more, saturating the space that separated us. Uncertainty enveloped me, leaving me at a loss for how to navigate the tumult of emotion swirling within. I held the role of his mother, yet I found myself stealing another glance at the clock, a knot forming in my stomach. My husband would return shortly. "Liam, would you be able to do that?" Just as I was about to complete my thought, he moved in, invading my personal space. Our hands grazed each other in a fleeting moment, unplanned yet electric. I recoiled swiftly, a sense of discomfort washing over me at the unexpected intimacy. A jolt coursed through me at the contact, and I withdrew my hand swiftly, taken aback by the sheer force of it. "Mother?" His voice carried a gentle, caring quality. "Are you all right?" I gazed up at him, my heart racing within me. I found myself at a loss for words. Words eluded me as I grappled with the emotion swirling within. I couldn't quite grasp it either. "I'm fine," I said, though my voice trembled more than I had hoped. "Simply weary, that's all." Yet, I understood it went deeper than that. A change had occurred between us, an undeniable presence that I could not overlook. The atmosphere was laden with silent reflections, hidden emotions, and the burden of it all felt overwhelming. I pivoted towards the stove, yearning to immerse myself in the task at hand, seeking refuge from the escalating unease that hung in the air between us. My husband would return shortly. So, everything would return to how it was before, wouldn't it? Yet, beneath the surface, I sensed that everything had shifted irreversibly. The evening meal unfolded in a hush, an unsettling stillness enveloping the room. Liam and I found ourselves seated opposite one another at the dining table, the stillness enveloping us resonating more profoundly than it ought to have. I concentrated on the sound of forks clinking, the gentle hum of the refrigerator, seeking any distraction from the mounting tension that seemed to grow with each fleeting minute. As I cast my eyes toward the clock, time seemed to hold its breath. My husband ought to have returned by this time. Yet, he remained elusive, absent from sight. The hour was growing late, and the silence that hung between Liam and me was becoming increasingly oppressive. "Did you have a conversation with Dad today?" Liam inquired, shattering the stillness that enveloped them. His voice carried a relaxed tone, yet beneath it lay an undercurrent that sent my heart racing. I nodded, the weight of my thoughts silencing my voice, wary of the words that might escape if I dared to utter them. "He mentioned he would arrive by 8, and I responded with a sense of relief, my voice betraying a calmness that I didn't truly possess. "But you understand how it is with work, likely caught in traffic." Liam reclined in his chair, his gaze fixed on me for a brief moment. His eyes remained fixed on mine, and I sensed the intensity of his stare. His gaze was disconcerting, as if he were probing for secrets I wasn't prepared to reveal. "Mom, how are you holding up?" he inquired once more, as if it were the 100th time that evening. I managed a smile, tilting my head just a bit. "I'm truly okay, Liam, honestly." Yet, the reality was that I was far from okay. Since the instant I caught the way his gaze held on to mine, just a fraction too long, I hadn't felt quite right. An unspoken presence lingered between us, a truth we hesitated to acknowledge, yet it pulsed in the air, undeniable and palpable. The vibration of my phone against the counter shattered the silence that hung in the air. I leaped to my feet, thankful for the diversion. A message arrived from my husband, letting me know he was running late. "Please don't stay up for me." I set the phone aside, a tightness coiling within me. He was not returning home in the near future. "Is Dad ever going to come home?" Liam inquired, his tone gentle, as if he was already aware of what was to come. I gently shook my head, a subtle gesture that spoke volumes. "No, he's running late," I said, attempting to keep my tone light. Yet the words carried a weight, imbued with significance that surpassed their apparent simplicity. Liam nodded slowly, his gaze unwavering. The space seemed constricted once more, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken words lingering between us. As Liam rose to his feet and approached me, he spoke with a sense of purpose. "It seems we have the house all to ourselves for a while." "What?" I swallowed hard, acutely conscious of the space that separated us, or rather, the absence of it. He stood too near, his gaze probing into mine for something I was unwilling to offer. "Indeed, I suppose so," I let my voice rise just slightly above a whisper. A moment lingered, a silence so dense it seemed to envelop me, weighing heavily in the air. In that moment, just as I was about to speak, Liam extended his hand and grasped mine. I stood still, caught in a moment of disbelief. The contact felt pure, yet the gentle glide of his thumb across my skin ignited a tingling sensation that traveled down my spine. My breath hitched as I gazed up at him, striving to maintain my poise, attempting to disregard the frantic beating of my heart within my chest. "Mom," he murmured, his voice imbued with an emotion I couldn't quite identify. "I wish to have a conversation with you." I yanked my hand back, my heart racing, the sound of it echoing in my ears. "Liam, we can't," I began, but the words faltered on my lips. The words lingered in the air, laden with a weight that made them almost perilous to utter. He advanced a step, his gaze fixed intently on me. "Mom, I can't shake the feeling that something's not quite right lately. There's something on my mind, and I believe it's time for us to have an open conversation." I stepped back, my thoughts urging me to create space, yet my body remained paralyzed, unable to move. My heart raced, the gravity of his words settling deep within me. He was correct, I sensed it as well. A peculiar, unarticulated tension had been simmering between us for weeks, yet I knew I couldn't allow it to escalate any further. "Liam, it's time for us to pause and reflect. As your mother, I feel the distance between us, and it's evident that our communication isn't flowing as it should." Liam's expression softened, and for a fleeting moment, I glimpsed the boy he once was, the boy who would rush to me with scraped knees, the boy who filled the night with 100 questions before sleep. Yet, that boy had vanished, leaving only the man who stood before me now. He spoke softly, yet I find myself in a haze of confusion lately. "It seems we both could benefit from some distance to gather our thoughts and see things more clearly." The atmosphere surrounding us was thick, pulsating with an unspoken energy that left us both at a loss for how to proceed. My pulse quickened, and my heart thudded in my chest as I scanned his face for any hint that this was merely a misunderstanding, yet the expression in his eyes left no room for doubt. I turned my head, distancing myself from him once more. "Unfortunately, Liam, that's not possible. This situation feels all wrong. I am your mother, and my love for you is deep, but it's not in the way you might be imagining." He gazed at me, a flicker of pain crossing his features, yet he remained rooted in place. "I can't bear the thought of losing you," he murmured gently. His voice carried a subtle urgency. "Text," I promised him, my voice a mere breath. "We must take action immediately, before the situation escalates beyond our control." The stillness that ensued was overwhelming, heavy with the unspoken truths that lingered between us. I felt the urge to connect, to offer solace as I once did in his youth, yet I found myself unable to do so, not at this moment, not after all that had transpired. I believe we require some distance," I uttered at last, my voice trembling. "Perhaps it would be wise to return to school for a brief period." Liam remained silent initially, his gaze fixed on me, an enigmatic expression on his face. After what seemed like an endless stretch of time, he finally nodded, his movement deliberate and measured. "Indeed," he murmured, "perhaps you have a point." As dawn broke, an unsettling stillness enveloped the house. Sleep eluded me as I tossed and turned throughout the night, my mind trapped in a relentless loop, revisiting the events of the evening again and again. It was bewildering, the way everything had unraveled so rapidly, leading us to a destination I never imagined we would reach. As I emerged from the confines of my bed, I discovered Liam at the kitchen table, his gaze lost in the depths of his coffee cup. His bags lay ready, positioned by the entrance. My heart plummeted. In the morning, I found myself sitting in silence, attempting to project an air of normalcy, despite the uncertainty of whether I truly understood what normal felt like any longer. "Good morning, Mom," Liam responded, his tone gentle and far away. He kept his gaze fixed downward, and the distance between us seemed to grow more oppressive than it ever had before. I lingered in silence, grappling with the right words to express my thoughts. A sense of disarray enveloped everything. The atmosphere surrounding us was heavy with the silence of unexpressed thoughts and lingering feelings that had accumulated in recent days. I longed to assure him that all would be well, that we could return to the way things once were, yet within me, I understood that such a notion was unattainable. After a prolonged pause, Liam finally met my gaze and said, "I'm going to head back to school today. His eyes held a depth of sorrow I had never witnessed in him, and it pierced my heart. I nodded slowly, striving to maintain my composure. "That seems to be the wisest choice," I murmured, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. He rose to his feet and made his way to his bags, yet just as he was about to depart, he paused to turn and look at me once more. "Mom," he started, pausing as if he were sifting through his thoughts for the perfect expression. "I regret all that has transpired. It was never my intention to put you in a position of discomfort. I simply—" His voice faded into silence, and I could perceive the turmoil reflected in his gaze. I took a deep breath, struggling to hold back the emotions that were on the verge of breaking free. "It's all right, Liam," I spoke softly, even as uncertainty lingered within me. "Everything will turn out all right. At this moment, we require a bit of distance." He nodded, yet his expression betrayed a lingering doubt. A heavy silence lingered in the air, stretching on painfully, until he finally gathered his bags and made his way to the door. I observed him leave, engulfed by a profound sense of emptiness, as if a vital connection between us had been shattered beyond repair. At the moment he was ready to depart, he glanced back one final time. "I love you, Mom," he said, his voice gentle, imbued with a deep, heartfelt emotion. "I love you too, Liam," I said, my voice quivering with emotion. "Forever." And then, in an instant, he vanished. The house resonated with an emptiness that had not been felt in years, and the silence enveloped everything like a heavy shroud. I lingered by the door, lost in thought, attempting to unravel the events that had unfolded. "But understand, Liam, the effort I put forth." A lingering sensation enveloped me, a realization that an unalterable shift had occurred between us, one that we could never reverse. The remainder of the day unfolded with me immersed in various tasks, tidying up the house, sorting through closets, seeking any diversion from the tumultuous thoughts that danced in my mind. Yet, all efforts proved futile. In the stillness, the weight of silence became unbearable. Each time I paused, my thoughts drifted back to that instant in the kitchen when Liam had extended his hand, the moment when everything changed. That evening, my husband at last returned home. He pressed his lips to my cheek, inquired about my day, and sank into the couch as if everything was perfectly fine. Unbeknownst to him, a tempest was gathering just out of sight, hidden from his awareness. There was a deep urge within me to share my truth, to lay bare my soul, yet the words remained trapped, unspoken, as I wrestled with my own hesitation. The burden of what had nearly transpired loomed large, a shame too profound to utter aloud. Instead, I retired for the night, leaving him in the glow of the television downstairs. In the stillness of the night, the memories of the recent days unfolded like a haunting tale, each moment echoing in the shadows of my thoughts. I attempted to persuade myself that everything had merely existed in my imagination, that the strain between Liam and me was simply a result of my own overanalysis, yet deep down, I understood that this was far from the truth. A change had occurred, and retreat was no longer an option. We had grown apart emotionally, and that separation, for reasons unknown, brought pain and confusion to us both. As the days stretched into weeks, life continued its relentless march, yet the house remained a hollow shell, echoing the absence of Liam. My husband noticed, as one might expect, but I consistently dismissed it, claiming it was merely the natural progression of events. As children mature and the world around them shifts, there lingered within me a profound understanding that it transcended mere change. I attempted to connect with Liam several times, sending him messages to check on his well-being, yet his responses remained brief and detached. I refrained from urging him, understanding that we both required space. As the weeks unfolded, I clung to the hope that the space would provide solace, that the distance might grant us the insight necessary to transcend this moment. Yet, deep down, I grappled with the uncertainty of whether we could truly move forward. The bond that typically exists between a mother and son is often seen as straightforward and innocent, yet ours had evolved into something much more intricate, an unexpected transformation that neither of us foresaw. Despite my yearning to return to the simplicity of our past, I understood in my heart that the evolution of our relationship had irrevocably altered us both. I appreciate you taking the time to engage with my tale. Be sure to subscribe for more engaging content like this.